Good evening. Hope you had a wonderful day in the Lord. We are in Revelations 8, and I was just telling my son, when you're reading Revelations, you have to make sure that you are in tune and really listening to what the Spirit is saying. And we know that throughout Revelation it says, he or she that hath an ear, let him or her hear what the Spirit is saying unto the churches and unto the individual soul. And it's just over and over you see this theme. But the last verse in Revelation 7, I didn't really read it this morning, but it says, for the Lamb, Jesus, which is in the midst of the throne, shall feed them. Don't we know that the Lord feeds his saints? Don't we know that he constantly nourishes us? Not so much physically. Yeah, food. Yeah, we just had a meal. But how many people know that after a meal, we're like sometimes miserable, and then, we're thinking about the next meal in a few hours, right? But the living bread and the living water that comes from the Lord, you never thirst and you'll never hunger, because it is sustaining and it's eternal. It says, in the midst of the throne shall feed them and shall lead them into living fountains of water, where you never be, have a void. You won't look for the world to fill you. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. So that's a blessed promise in the scriptures. And this is, like I said, apropos for a Holy Week. This is the whole reason why Jesus came to earth, born to die. And in the first verse of chapter 8, like I said, it is so important when you're reading the scriptures that sometimes you just have to be silent. It says, and when he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. Now, I know people, sometimes say that you need shutdown times or shut down hours, but sometimes you just need spaces of time in this treadmill of life where you just don't do anything, right? You just lay still and you're just listening and you're just seeing what the Lord is going to bring to you. And especially reading Revelations, that has to be the case. And in verse 3, the latter half, it said, he should offer with the prayers of all saints. What are we doing during this silent time? The Lord will bring things to our heart. Oh my goodness, don't we know so many situations that we need to offer up to prayer as an incense to our Father? It says, prayers for all saints upon the golden altar. So let's not just live for ourselves. There's so many needs. We don't even have to watch the news. I mean, and if we do, we know, the mayhem of what's going on in our city, just with the one day with warm weather and just the havoc that broke out in the downtown area. They're saying 500 youth. Saints, we need to be in position to pray so that we will be diligent in our assignment and know that God is faithful. But we have to take out the time with our young people and teach them and pray for them and lead them and be patient with them. That's one thing that the sergeant or the chief said, that the police were so tolerant. We got to be tolerant with our young people. Amen. We got to be patient. And in verse 3, again, the prayers of all saints, and it ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. In verse 4. What do you have to say about that, Timothy? As you're a young person, you saw what was going on in the news just from that one day of warm weather.
Oh yeah.
I can't hear you.
Just pure niggatry, if to say the least, and excuse my vile
I'm not sure
language.
that's a word, but go ahead.
Nigrosity.
Mm-hmm.
Just the behavior of a Negro.
Buffoonery.
Buffoonery.
Right.
But and I'm not justifying that, or saying that you should be okay with that, but you still got to understand this is a new day and age. People are not raised the same as when you were raised, so they're not gonna have those same standards.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that you have to be patient and don't just judge them, but actually make an effort to help them. Okay. Because then they're not gonna get help. You just talking to your friends about how how bad they're acting, whatever. So
Each
stand up.
one,
Yeah.
each one, reach one and teach one,
Yeah.
and preach to each one of us. Amen. Let's do everything for the glory of God. Have a good night as we get edified in the Lord. Good night.